at the beginning, I mean, a lot of us are in this online space. It's the most effective way to coach. It's the most effective way to push our message, but the people are already all around us. And I think what I try to aim to teach is how do we facilitate conversations around taking people that are curious and interested and turning them into paying clients. And
You want to become an online nutrition coach. You want to work from home, you want to make money, and you want to change lives. But there's one major problem. How do you get leads for your coaching business? You're not sure how to turn your passion for health and fitness into an income because you don't know how to get the connections with the people that actually want your service. So you feel stuck, overwhelmed, and stalled. And that's why I'm super excited to bring on today Dr. Marc Morris. And he's going to show us not only how to find, but also how to land our ideal coaching clients. And what I love about Marc is that in his program, he's teaching passionate health and fitness people the tools and the knowledge that they need to help people and to make money. So that is super interesting for me. You're not only teaching the science of good nutrition, but you're also sharing proven strategies to actually get clients. How have you come up with some of the solutions that you're going to share with us? And what mistakes have you made along the way?
totally. Well, thanks for the wonderful introduction as well. And one thing I am aiming to do in my programs and my teaching is focus not only on the science of nutrition, but also on the business side of things. Because as an industry, I think we've come to terms with, like, maybe this is something that's overlooked and needs to be taught, and definitely something that I struggled with. And I think it's held me back from, reaching more people, especially at the beginning of my career, where as someone that's science-based and science-minded, I think the way I aim to attract them a lot of the times was through teaching how to do things instead of what was important for them. And a lot of times we get in that kind of educator mindset that we want to teach how to do stuff. And at best, maybe someone will take something helpful away, like maybe like a sliver of it, or they think they can do it on their own. And at worst, we just confuse people and lead them astray. And they're just not on the same level as us because we're sharing what we find important and not them. So I've been on kind of this mission to demystify that and make it simple and straightforward so we can truly help the people that need our help, not just our peers and the people around us. So that's what I've been focusing on doing recently. And in the last 2 or 3 years, the teachings around this stuff have exploded. And I've been really fortunate to be able to be on the practitioner side in terms of a nutrition coach already doing this, but now focusing on how do we share this message and get more people interested in our stuff. So tons of different strategies and tips and kind of going from there. But yeah, it was definitely humble beginnings because at the beginning, especially someone science-minded, I thought the path to build a business was to teach people how, and they would be interested in it. And a lot of times it's just like hope marketing, right? You're like, you throw this educational stuff out there and you think people will automatically connect the dots. And as I learned more about marketing and the business side of things, it's motivating people to take action and leaving nothing to chance in terms of what we do, how we solve problems, and how we connect those dots and make it really, really clear what the next step is to work with us. So been doing more of that.
Yeah, and one of the things that really stood out for me when I first came across your account was some of the amazing client results that you had. Can you tell us a little bit what actually happens when people are applying what you're going to teach us?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing being, I think when we first start out in this stuff, people are already looking to you as sort of that, be it in your own social circle, your friends, your family, as an expert in nutrition and fitness. Like this is already, it's already a thing. If you have someone that's asked you, they kind of look to you for advice and stuff. The people are all already around you. Like you are that person for someone. And I think that should be comforting for a lot of people because people are like, where am I going to find these people? At the beginning, I mean, a lot of us are in this online space. It's the most effective way to coach. It's the most effective way to push our message, but the people are already all around us. And I think what I try to aim to teach is how do we facilitate conversations around taking people that are curious and interested and turning them into paying clients. And a lot of times people they'll entertain your ideas, but they have a hard time taking that next step. So we want to create systems so that we can show how valuable coaching is without even having a coaching relationship yet, so that we can display what's going on in their individual lives that's maybe holding them back, like in terms of barriers. Like, what can I point out about your individual nutrition or fitness plan that is holding you back from reaching your goals? And the next step for paid coaching is just a logical next step once you've been able to provide individualized value. So creating some systems in place where you're not just, shouting into the loneliness of the internet, this is what's important, but creating a system so that you can say, hey, this is what you're specifically doing right now. Let's collect some more information about where you're at so I can have a truly unique conversation and show you as an individual what's holding you back. And once you're effectively able to do that, people are begging to sign up. They don't need any more. They don't need any convincing. They already see the value, because in most cases, all the information is already around them, but we need to be able to do that to the individual. And they're always willing to take the next step. So I think at the beginning, it's how do we do that on a like in our social circle level, because that's where most people should start, is that like, let's get a better sense of who you want to work with, what they're like, what they're trying to accomplish. Those people are all around you. You can try different things. And then when we get some momentum building and some success stories, that's where we start to niche out. And that's where a lot of the success in my program has come from, is once we have a better idea of who we're best suited to work for, now let's craft some specific messages around the individual we help and what their pain points are, and how you can specifically help them and speak their language, and then they'll come to you in terms of attraction. So it's kind of like a natural process around, hey, let's get somewhat general at the beginning and figure out who we help and the people that are around us, because they're there. I know they're there because everyone has these conversations, right? Be it at the water cooler or, at the dinner table, or when you're in the gym and someone's coming up to you, it's like, what are you doing? I need to know what you're doing. Right. And it's like, let's have that conversation, but it isn't just me trying to convince you in that moment what I'm doing is important. It's like, let me show you as an individual kind of thing.
Yeah, I love this. And I especially like the idea of, starting more general, just getting a feeling of what is the right client for me. Because so often you hear this, oh, you have to niche down, you have to niche down. But I still remember when I started up, I tried to niche down, but I niched down into so many different ways because I actually didn't know what it was like working with them. From your experience, what are some of the common mistakes coaches make when they try to turn their passion into an income, and they might think they have connections but don't really sure? So what are some of the first roadblocks that you see with your clients that come up again and again?
I think that probably the most common thing, especially, so we're talking about when we first get started, we're just kind of getting a sense of who it is we should be working with. And it should be somewhat general at that point, because you got to try some stuff out. Like taking this next step between, being general and niching maybe happens too fast at times. And maybe we need to pump the brakes. And that's not to say once you do try to niche down and try a different specific focus, that can't change, because it can, but you need to give it some time, right? Sorry, I got a dog issue right here. But with, so like that could take some time, but I think once people make that leap, the biggest issue is that they are focusing on things that the individual consumer, our client, the person that we should be able to attract doesn't really care about, or doesn't feel that is their pain point for the most part. And especially when it comes to, I don't know, there's some things that some people just naturally don't think is their issue that very much is. One thing that comes to mind a lot of times, like mindset is a big one. I think a lot of times people don't identify that their mindset is what's holding them back. And a lot of times that's where like nutrition and fitness is the perfect vehicle for change. And when you start focusing on that, you view things differently, you put different strategies in place, and you become, it's like a vehicle for self. But a lot of times people don't think that that is their issue, right? So sometimes when we sell them on a thing that they don't think is their issue, they have a hard time seeing and visualizing themselves as the ultimate result, like the end product, that type of thing. And the issue is that I think as coaches, we got to start separating what I do in my marketing can be different when what I do in my fulfillment. And these can be like obviously interconnected, but they don't need to be the same thing. And at times on the front end, we probably need to focus more on results and aspirations and where people want to be. And the fulfillment side of things, we ultimately give them what they need and where they're going to go, but we just focus on it less, the details, the how to in the actual front end of our, our business strategies.
Yeah, I remember as a personal trainer, when you have these strategies, when a client is always complaining of wanting to train arms, but
Hmm.
why do you want to train arms? So you start the session with some drop set of bicep curls so he can walk around the gym thinking like he's so overly pumped, and then
Yeah,
he's happy to do some squats because he trained his
totally.
arms.
Yeah.
And this is how I understand you right now. We talk with to the aspiration like my sleeves are bursting, and then you get the fulfillment with, oh, if we do some squats, we will actually lose some weight and get some muscle building going.
Totally. It's one of those things where I think you need to do an element of giving them what they want and selling them on what they want and then just fulfilling on what they need. And I think like that is to me is always more effective because that's where we truly get people in a position where we can change them, not through just free educational content, but through the stuff that is going to change their lives, which is always accountability, guidance, and mentorship in a paid coaching relationship.
Yeah, I love this. Um, so can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek into your program? How do you teach your clients to use content and social media to bring clients into their world?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is the whole like if you would ask me 8 years ago like what marketing is and stuff, completely foreign to me. And I think where I've gotten to the point is and my idea of it and philosophy around it and what I try to teach is that our marketing is anything we do to motivate people to take action. And ideally that's in the form of hiring us. But if we take a few steps back, like we want to do things to start conversations, to build a community, like we need a thing that we're focusing on doing. So there's an intent around, when we create social media content, what is the intent of what we're doing? And a lot of times it should be to create conversations, be it getting people to raise their hands that they have this problem that you are really good at solving so that we can have a conversation around what that would look like. So a lot of times, and again, we talked about barriers and where people, coaches typically go wrong is that they're focused way too much on education and how to content. And it's not about giving away secrets. None of this stuff is like secretive at truly. I mean, there's things that we do in our coaching that are unique to us and powerful, but there's no secrets. So it's not about giving it away. It's just presenting it in a way that is going to motivate the viewer and the people that we want to raise their hands to take action, to take that next step and create conversation. So it's creating content around that. A lot of times what we want to do is one of the things that I picked up in the last few years is like literally using the conversations to guide some of our marketing so that we aren't translating pain points and stuff people are going through in our own words, but we're literally using it to build our marketing, right? Our marketing messages and stuff that we're doing. So it's having conversations, collecting that kind of stuff, and then going from there. And I think the biggest thing that in terms of where people have truly found success is number one, the competency piece of learning the science and how to apply it into a coaching process, right? Not leaving anything up to chance. I think a lot of nutrition certifications where they go wrong is that they teach you everything possible there is to know, but you're left feeling like, what now?
Mhm.
What do I do now? So it's building on a process that's effective and streamlined, and we can coach people and kind of go from there. But then it's also putting into practice. So in my program, the last module that we work through, people are going to actually coach someone under my supervision. So you build confidence that they can actually do this on their own. And I think what you want to do through this entire process is just wear different hats in terms of how am I viewing this? How am I viewing this as a coach and practitioner, but also how am I viewing this as a marketer? So I get a better sense of what do people need so I can get them into my coaching. And I think one of the most helpful things is that before I started working with anyone like 8 years ago, I would always do an assessment that would be free. I want to get a better sense of what your nutritional habits look like right now. What do you want to achieve? What do what are like objectively what things look like so that I can walk you through based on my expert opinion what is holding you back from reaching your goals? And I used to do that with everyone for free before we even talked about how much things cost, like what the steps were detail orientated around my coaching. I would show people that and they'd be like, where do I sign up? Like, you just showed me something on an individual level no one's ever showed me. So it's creating processes around, not selling someone on something until they know you have the solution. And it doesn't always need to be free, but we can do that through content and a bunch of different things. So, it's one of those things where everyone's talking about providing value. Absolutely. You need to do that. You need to teach people, but doing it in a way that's specific and individual to them that leads to the next step, and then creating the skills so that you can best support them and take them to the next level through your coaching.
Yeah. And I still think some of the best sales conversations that I had were actually coaching conversations, where I tried to solve a teeny tiny problem that they had. And after that, they were like, now it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Can I move on? And you talk about processes. Can you give us a little bit more insight? How do these processes look like for you and your clients?
I think so. Everything I learned about coaching so far, like most coaching programs are built around, especially on the one-on-one individual level, is based around the weekly check-in, right? Like anything more frequent than a week is going to be not enough time to put actionable things into, like, build momentum around them and put them into action. And we end up just like hand holding, being way too, one of the most important things I've ever heard in this process is like, don't do anything for your clients that they can't do for themselves, right? So of course we're supporting and guiding them, but we want to give enough time so that they can truly take the steps they need. So building a check-in process that's typically around, that week point, 7 days. Anything more than that is just, you're not close enough to the process. So finding that sweet point and building a coaching product around having it focused on what the client wants and making sure that we're controlling enough of the variables so that they're doing the things that can get those results. I would say 90% of the people that are looking to a nutrition coach to get a specific result is going to be body composition related, a lot of fat loss and muscle gain and that type of thing. So becoming an expert in some of those niche areas and controlling the variables that allow you to do it so you get really, really good results. And that stuff it feeds on itself, right? Because at the end of the day, our clients want that, but building a coaching process around that. And I think one of the best things coaches can do to create a streamlined process that's effective, that's still personable, is integrate some level of video into a video check-in with specific results. So we're not doing coaching calls as much as we are doing, let's collect all of the relevant information. I think enough of us been through the check-in process where, you're reading through a wall of text or something and you're like, none of this is relevant or concise enough. And you become an expert at deciphering what's important kind of thing. So it's asking really specific questions to get specific answers to guide your coaching process. And then using the check-in process to, number one, talk over things. So people hire coaches. They don't hire systems or approaches. They want you as a guide. So injecting yourself into the process, being concise enough so that things are actionable in terms of next steps and not biting off more than you can chew. I think a lot of new coaches are just like, here's everything I'm seeing. Ugh. It's like, 10 points kind of thing. And no one can act on that, right? It wouldn't matter what it was. And I think a lot of times, even thinking of us in our businesses, if I had 10 things to focus on, I'd never get anything done, right? So being actionable and practical enough, creating a paper trail so that things are streamlined, so you don't have to go back and watch videos. So it's building a check-in process around that so that a lot of these coaches that want to do this full time are creating the systems right off the bat so that they can, make that jump without having to be like, wow, now I got a bunch of clients and it's taking all of my time and I have no time to actually work on my business. I'm just working in my business. Right. So that type of thing.
And I'm curious because you talked about doing this full time, and many people have the fear of the online space being already saturated, or the fitness space is. There are so many coaches out there. Is it even possible to still get clients? What has been your experience?
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. I forget, maybe you'll know this figure, but there's more information available
Mhm.
than like ever before, right? Like I think, I don't know, is there like how much YouTube content is created per minute, right? There's more like there's so much information available. And in reality, a lot of the problems people face is that like it's not getting any better, right? That's not a strong positive correlation in terms of like the information's all available, the coaches are all available. I think the biggest thing being if you take a step, even in your own social circle, there are more people than you'd be able to help and
Yeah.
work with than you know what to do with in reality. I think a lot of times we get in that scarcity mindset where it's like we're trying to make this leap and you're thinking, where do these people come from? But with the right step-by-step approach, creating offers, being consistent, putting yourself out there, there's no reason that every individual that wants to turn their passion for this type of stuff into a business can't. There really, really, there really, really isn't. And we're talking about, I've coaches with like 300 Instagram followers and 30 paying clients, right? Like it's a real thing. It's not, you don't need tons of numbers. And I think we've been kind of led to believe that
Yeah.
in order to do this, you need a huge social media following. You need, fancy website. You might even need a super customized invoice to your own, yeah, right? Like you might need all these things or like paid advertisements or a big budget to invest into things. I truly believe that we should bootstrap things and figure out what's best, create our own systems, and then, automate stuff once we know exactly who we're working with, what it should look like, and kind of go from there. So the people are already all around you. It's just creating systems for you to effectively raise their hand, foster those relationships, take the right steps to turn them into paying clients, which isn't as like cringy as it sounds. It's just helping,
Mhm.
right? And helping in the best way and making that mindset shift and then kind of going from there. But no, absolutely. There's more people than that need our help that are not getting any sort of service in any way, and they're already all around you.
Yeah, and I think it's and I talk about this often. It's not the problem that there are not enough clients, but it's that we still haven't figured out how to talk to these
Mhm,
clients so
mhm,
they are open to getting a coach. And
mhm.
speaking about it, you have a new program coming up, I think in March, for
That's right.
those who want to turn their passion into an income and a full-time income. Can you talk a little bit more about what your program is actually about and what they can expect?
Yeah, totally. No, I'd love to. So I think what's really interesting about my program, this is very much the university course I wish I would have been able to take and
Mhm,
teach.
mhm,
I taught macronutrients and metabolism and some like discussion based courses at the university level, and always wanted to get into, you know, body composition stuff, but also how do we create a business out of this, like that type of thing in a really applied, practical way. Just I aimed to make that university course, and they weren't buying it. So that's clearly they didn't see what was in it for them, which is totally cool. And I went on this and done it on my own in terms of a 90-day program. So 3 months, like a traditional university course. But the first chunk, the first module, we focus all on the science of nutrition, but not in the conventional nutrition certification way that it's like, here's your textbook, here's everything you need to know,
mhm, mhm,
memorize the Krebs cycle, memorize stuff that you just need to regurgitate to pass an exam. I spent 11 years in university jumping through hoops for the sake of doing it. I want everything that any of my students are working on to be practical and applied, and they're going to use in their
mhm,
coaching business. So we focus the science of nutrition within that lens. So you're going to know exactly what you need to control and prescribe and understand to get the client's results that they care about. And a lot of times it's going to be fat loss, muscle gain, athletic performance, and how that kind of interrelates to overall health. And we focus on that in the first month. But then from there, we build out the coaching model. So you take everything you need to know. And Robin's, someone messaged you like, should I be taking protein powder? I know you're interested in this stuff. You're like, you might be able to take that. Maybe you should take that, but I don't really know. I need to be able to take you through the process of assessing where you're at, seeing what's holding you back from your goals, um, communicating that effectively so that people see the value in it and want to buy into the next step, then selling them on coaching, creating a process around that, and then building out the check-in process so that you know from A to Z what to do with clients from start to finish and you have a really good sense. And I think what sets our program apart is that once we do that in the second month, you're going to work with an actual client under my supervision in the
Mhm.
third month to try it all out. So you're not feeling like what now, right? And kind of go through that process. You're building momentum so that you can actually do this on your own, which is super, super important, especially for people that, are coming from a place where they're not sure they're going to be able to do this. Like,
Yeah.
am I going to actually be able to work on a client? It's like, yeah, you will, but you gotta throw
Mhm.
yourself in the fire. And through this program, you have no choice but to, because I'm going to walk you through it and then help you work with an actual client so that you feel confident enough you're going to be able to do this on your own. So that's how we do that in the Dr. Marc method, through that process.
Well, I absolutely love this because I remember seeing so many coaches celebrating, oh, I got my notification, and what now? Or I just certified and I got a new client. What should I do? And this is really the part where the mentorship really comes in, where you, with all your experience, help them make the decision, ask the questions so they think through and really understand how some of the things that they have learned actually apply.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. I think actually I've had a few conversations with aspiring online coaches in the last little bit, and them thinking, you know, I thought once I just kind of put it out there that I was an online coach and I was doing this stuff, people are going to start coming to me. And I almost got cocky about it, right? I thought this was going to be super easy and people
Mhm.
were just going to sign up. And it's been, like literal radio silence ever since I did that, or I got that certification, but I'm still not getting clients to sign up. And it's like, you got to understand how to present this stuff, and you got
Mhm.
to understand, taking a step back, what's in it for the clients, and taking that lens while being a fantastic coach. There's no getting around that. But I think we both know there's so many really deserving, qualified coaches that don't build great businesses because they just don't know how to present it, right? So
Yeah.
we got to do both. We're at
Yeah.
the point where we got to do both. And I think if we go back even to the saturation thing and talking about, can you make a living out of this? Absolutely. But there is a bit more competition, and you
Mhm.
got to be specific
Mhm.
and approach this in the right way. And that's when it lands. And when you do that, like, sky's the limit. It truly, truly is.
Yeah. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time. For everyone who's interested in the Dr. Marc method, the link is in the description below. And if you have any questions, I'm sure you can reach out to Mark on Instagram, I
Please do.
believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm probably most active on Instagram. So MARCW Morris is my handle there. And please reach out. Let's chat. I'd love to hear where people are at and how I can help.